controller functions. So we can start by creating the controller folder.
So the controller is where we actually going to write the business logic. So the route is actually your endpoint. The payload is actually you're exposing to the front end or your client or your mobile app or your desktop app. Controller where exactly you are writing the business logic.
So we're in the controller folder and the product page, like the product file. So now, like as Sir Shibu said, this is where we're going to write the business logic. So we're starting off by importing the product schema that we created.
Database schema.
The database schema. And then we're also going to need Mongoose.
Because the driver, we need the driver.
And then we're going to need the Cloudinary because we're going to get the image URL and we have to upload it. So that's why we need it. .v2. Okay, so we're going to start off with the create product. So we can do exports dot create product. I'm going to do an async function. So this is a request and res, which is res means a response. And so this is a post request. So this basically means that when a user fills out the form and sends submit, the user is basically sending us information, and the information is basically stored in the rec.body.
So the action we are going to do as a seller, I am actually going to create a product. So when we do action, means we are actually passing some data, we simply call the post. Okay, so this is the HTTP method. So in this case, line number 5, you see the rack and response. When you're actually, anytime you are actually requesting something and you have to get the response back. So in this case, we are actually creating all this, the name, image, description, price, category, brand. So there's actually, what is all this, the key, right?
Which one?
This line, name, image, description.
Yeah, this is basically, so in this line, we're basically destructuring the request. Yes, so that it becomes easier to handle the data. Otherwise, you would have to do rec.body.name, rec.body.image, and it just becomes very,
okay.
Yeah. So now, this is basically all the data from the user. So now we're going to do some validation. So basically we want the user to provide information for all of these fields. If the user doesn't provide the information for at least one of these fields, that means we're going to throw an error. So that's basically what we're going to do in this if statement. So we do that with an exclamation point. So basically means this basically means if there is no name, or if this name is empty. That's basically what this means. Or there's no image, or if there's no description, or if there's no price, and so on and so forth.
So as you see, when we create the API, we actually put the restriction or the assertion from the backend. So in the payload, many times we say this is required field, this is optional. So now that's the way we actually declare it on the backend, the controller side. That's the way we're writing the logic now. In the logic, we're mentioning what I need, what I don't need it.
Yes.
So it means, remember, when we run any API request, if something is not as expected, we define the 400 series. in the HTTP method, 400 series is the series that we allocate for the user behavior, means user sending some data raw, user doesn't have the access permission, and the user actually the creating some data already exists. So those behavior we actually allocate the 400 series. So here you can call anything you want, any 400 series you want, basically. It's not like you have to call the 400, you can call 404, 403. Again, those are the defined in the API schema when the solution architect designed the API schema.
Yes. Yeah, so basically in this if statement, if any of these fields are empty or any of these fields were not provided by the user, we're basically returning a response. And we're, like Sir Shibu said, we're basically sending a 400 error, and with the message saying that please provide all of the fields.
Yes.
So now we're going to do a try catch block as we did previously. So if we're able to reach this portion of the code, that means that all the fields has been passed, like all the fields has been provided to us by the user. So that means we definitely have the image URL. So we're going to work with it. So image upload some, and then we're going to do a await, and we're going to basically do the cloudinary.uploader .upload, and we're going to pass in the image. So whatever the image URL was given to us, we're basically passing it into this function, this built-in Cloudinary method, basically. And now we have the image URL.
So two things in the software engineer does or the developer does when they use the third-party library, they always actually study on that library. Study means how many APIs on that library, what each of the API does. So the API they are going to use in their project, they actually make sure they're understanding each of this API, how to use them, and what is the best practice to use them. So he's writing this the calling those APIs or their function because he went through those the Cloudinary the library itself, and that's the reason he is actually using them.
Yes, the documentation.
Yes, we simply call it API documentation. Yes.
Yes. So what we're doing here is basically, like I said, we're basically uploading it into the Cloudinary, and then we're getting the secure URL from that, and then we're basically storing it into the image URL. And now we're basically creating a new object of the product. So for doing that, we have to basically pass in all the properties. So we basically, whatever the user gave us, we're basically passing in those information in here. And when it comes to the image, we're passing in the secure URL image. That's why this is what it looks like. So once the product is created, we can do await product.save. So this is basically a MongoDB function, MongoDB method. Basically allows us to save. Sorry, this is a Mongoose method. This allows us to save this product object into the MongoDB at once, pretty much. So after the product is saved, we can send a res.status.
So basically what we are doing when as a user of the browser or the mobile app, they type all the information, and the backend validated the yes, user has provided all the information, while at this moment, backend has to go to the database and say, you can save it. That's exactly what is happening here. Am I right?
Yes. So here, so after the product has been saved, we're sending a response of 200, and then we're letting the user know that the product was created successfully, and whatever the product we just created, we're going to return it so that we can see the product we just created.
So what happened, when we are sending something from the postman, the request body, And then we can actually, in the response, we are expecting the same thing, or we can actually expect the less things, or we can expect more things. So this is the response body. Request body is actually a client being the browser, mobile application, or desktop application, or the third party, the vendor. They consume our API, and now they send the data. And now our server, the backend server, will be giving the response back. And that's the reason we say line number 7, line number 27. If client has fulfilled all the data, then now we are going to tell them HTTP 200 means you got it done successfully. HTTP 200 series does all the positive, means the created successfully, or the open successfully. So again, based on the user story, your number will be defined by you, and your description, product created successfully, that will be defined by you to follow the user story.
Yes. So it's pretty much so this is the first function that we created. So this is the post method. So now we can basically route it in the routes.api. I mean, like the routes folder. So in order for us to get the endpoint, we have to get Express.
So basically what happened now, so our controller, that's where exactly business logic is stored. Okay, so now we are actually exposing this business logic to the endpoint, which is product.js. And from the client side, they always will know our payload. They will know our endpoint. That's the reason API testing is also called the black box testing, because the client doesn't know how I implemented. Client only knows what I'm exposing to them. So this part is very important to understand the route versus controller, the functionality.
Yes. So now we have the router that we imported. Now we're going to do router dot, and then we're going to specify the HTTP method. So in this case, it's going to be a post method. And then we also,
in the controller, we did not say anything. In the route, now we are actually telling the post, get, put. This one, we are creating a product. So of course, definitely it is going to be post.
Yes. So the function we just created is called create product. Yep. So we just imported it here from the controller function, as you can see.
Yep.
So now we're going to specify the endpoint.
Yes.
So we can do create, and then we're going to pass in the name of the function.
Yes.
So that's not all. We also have to export this. We're exporting the router basically. And now we have to take it to the server.js. Server.js. Here, we can do it under the get method. This is like a simple test endpoint that we created before. So we can do app.use. We can do /APIs/products. And then we're going to require the routes /product. We can do
you can extend your terminal so you can see. So while you are typing the code, you can see the error if you are making a mistake. And that's actually the part of the software engineering, the best practices. They go through the error, they debug this, and they see the error. So they read what is the error. It seems like the throw new type error. That's actually the telling in the router.use. Require a middleware function, but